When I look at the personnel and in having these conversations, both with you and Eric during the offseason, and there's been a collection of talent through the transfer portal that has shored up a few spots at corner and on the defensive line front and elsewhere. It's interesting how this program has become a very offensive line, defensive line based program, because the perception is, well, it's Oregon, so they got wide receivers and running backs, and that's how they're built. And if anything, that's where you're kind of having the question marks and wondering how good are we going to be at the skill positions, and do we have the type of game changers that we need to have to do some serious damage this year.
I totally agree. I mean, I think what Cristobal brought to this team was a totally different identity. They were hitting the weight room completely different. They were bringing in guys who were absolutely huge. I mean, the Chip Kelly era brought in a fairly light offensive lineman, and Cristobal was bringing in some of the biggest offensive linemen we've ever seen. And maybe to a fault. I mean, he was bringing in a lot of guys that still really haven't seen the field yet, you know? So I think the offensive line is stacked, and I think the defensive line is doing pretty good. You're going to have your third player for Oregon, probably a top 10 NFL draft pick with Kayvon Thibodeau. That's the third one in a row from Oregon, which is saying a lot for the school that Oregon's trying to build. They're nowhere near the same level of NFL talent that we see in the SEC or even in the Big 10, Big 12 even. This is a school that's providing NFL talent, and they're looking pretty good on the offensive defensive line. They've sent guys to the NFL in those position groups. What we haven't seen lately is the big wide receiver, the real couple quick wide receivers, the slot guy like a DeAnthony Thomas that is just electric to watch. You know, and a lot of those guys maybe didn't translate that well to the NFL, and it would be nice to see maybe some of those NFL talent guys really do transfer. And I do think there's some guys who are young that the freshman wide receiver class, I think, is going to be a very good class. They're sophomores this year, and they got to play late in the year a little bit more when you had the injuries to the seniors. So this is going to be a unique thing. I think they're going to throw the ball more than Cristobal. Cristobal really wanted to run the ball. Those old school football coaches that believe there's only, three things that can happen when you throw the ball, and two of them aren't good. And, just the 3-yard cloud of dust type of mentality. And that's what they were running. And I think they're going to open it up. I think this is a coaching staff that looks at Oregon's kind of history and says, when was Oregon the most exciting? When it had an exciting offense and when it had a defense that flew around. And actually, the defense from those Chip Kelly eras, that's where the best talent was. I mean, you see guys like Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner making real differences in the NFL. And they were playing on that those defenses. This is going to be the same kind of a thing. They want a lot of flash. They want to have an exciting offense to watch. And it all starts with the quarterback, like you said, but the wide receiver group is going to have to really come up. There's not that much depth there, and it is young.